Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to go to witness the activities of the second and final day of Egypt-EU Investment Conference, which kicked off yesterday with the presence and attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
هذا سيتم بعد الجلسة النقاشية الأولى ثم بعد الجلسة النقاشية الثانية.
I'm honored to have with me on the stage His Excellency Commissioner
على القاعة فالديس دومبروسكوس معالي المفوض والذي سينضم إلينا في هذه الجلسة الأولى لهذا اليوم. هذه الجلسة سيديرها فرانشيسكو بالمير وهو شريك أساسي في مجموعة بوسطن الاستشارية. مرحبا بكم، ونحن سينضم إلينا بعد لحظات معالي رئيس الوزراء المصري. أتمنى أن تكونوا قد حظيتم بوقت مثمر بالأمس. كان هناك الكثير من الأنشطة، شاهدت الكثير من المشاركين الذين ظلوا معنا حتى نهاية اليوم على الرغم من كونه يوما طويلا، وشكرا لكم على حضوركم مرة أخرى. كل الجلسات قبل فترة استراحة الغداء ستعقد في هذه القاعة الرئيسية، وبعد الغداء سننظم جلستين متوازيتين، واحدة منهما خاصة بالتكنولوجيا وريادة الأعمال وستعقد هنا في هذه القاعة الرئيسية، والجلسة الثانية خاصة باقتصاد قادر على تكيف ومرن في القاعة الأخرى. نشجعكم على زيارة التطبيق والموقع الإلكتروني للمؤتمر، ومن فضلكم نقدر لكم مشاركتنا أي من الأفكار البناءة والتعقيبات. معالي رئيس الوزراء دكتور مصطفى مدبولي.
دولة رئيس الوزراء الدكتور مصطفى مدبولي. معالي دولة رئيس الوزراء الدكتور مصطفى مدبولي، شكرا لحضورك في اليوم الثاني لهذا المؤتمر الهام، ويشرفنا الآن أن تفتتح هذا اليوم بشكل رسمي بالكلمة الافتتاحية. فلتتفضل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي السيد فالديز دومبروفسكيس نائب رئيس المفوضية الأوروبية والمفوض الأوروبي للتجارة، معالي السادة الوزراء، السادة ممثلو القطاع الخاص المصري والأوروبي، السيدات والسادة الحضور، إنه لا يشرفني أن أتواجد معكم في هذا الحدث الجانبي الهام بمشاركة السيد نائب رئيس المفوضية الأوروبية للتجارة، وأتطلع للحوار الثري الذي سيعقب إلقاء الكلمات الافتتاحية ويدير السيد فرانشيسكو بالميري المدير التنفيذي لشركة BCG. السيدات والسادة، مما لا شك فيه أن انعقاد المؤتمر الاستثمار المصري الأوروبي يأتي على خلفية تطورات
Egypt-EU Investment Conference is held in light of international developments in addition to regional crises over the previous years that impacted the stability of most of the countries in the region, in particular Gaza war. As all these crises are a real challenge to the stability and security of a number of countries, including Egypt. In addition to international challenges like climate change, international supply chain disruption, as well as the increasing role of modern technologies, in particular artificial intelligence. Although these issues are a real serious challenge before all countries, Egypt is seeking to deal with these international crises from the perspective of promising opportunities for comprehensive reform that enables Egypt to achieve its just right from comprehensive and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt is implementing its economic reform program despite the mentioned challenges, and it succeeded in taking a number of serious steps over the previous period, one of which is the stability of the exchange rate, supporting the role of the private sector, improving the investment environment. And we will discuss this further during the side event at the end. I'm looking forward to the rich discussion through this side event and the rest of the events of this day, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions. Thank you. Thank you very much, the Prime Minister of Egypt, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, for this speech. I would like to invite now Commissioner Dominus to deliver his opening speech. Mr. Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the representatives and ministers, first of all, I would like to extend thanks for inviting me to this conference. It gives me pleasure to speak to you. This galaxy of participants, this is a step towards enhancing investment cooperation in a number of component common interest fields, and it adds also to sustainable economic development in Egypt, and it helps achieving Egypt's Vision 2030. The sectors we discussed last day enhances cooperation between the EU and Egypt, and it focuses on main reform fields as well as attracting more European investments to the country. An example for this cooperation is a partnership in the field of green hydrogen as well as renewable energy to enhance security, especially energy security, in addition to supporting circular economy and creating more green jobs.
The competitiveness of Egyptian economy also in manufacturing. Considering recent global disruptions, including the COVID-19 pandemic and geopolitical tensions, the need for resilient and diversified supply chains has never been more apparent. Egypt is uniquely placed because of its position strategically between Africa, the Middle East and Europe, and with trade agreements covering around 25% of world's GDP and connected by modern ports and highways, Egypt offers great logistical advantages for European industries. Egypt's low operating costs and abundant resources, including renewable energy, make it an attractive destination. The country boasts a young, educated workforce ready to drive innovation and productivity in key sectors. The clean tech manufacturing sector stands to benefit immensely from nearshoring, with opportunities to enhance exports and integrate more deeply in European supply chains. Automotive and logistics are also primed for development, leveraging Egypt's modern infrastructure to facilitate smoother, faster and more cost-effective trade routes. Agriculture, another key sector, holds significant potential for development, including food security and sustainability for both regions. The European Union is committed in supporting Egypt in these strategic industries, recognizing mutual benefits of this partnership. We are dedicated to fostering a collaborative environment where both European and Egyptian businesses can thrive. Sustainability is a cornerstone of our collaboration. The EU's Green Deal and Egypt's vision to become a renewable energy hub align in promoting sustainable and innovative industrial practices. Our investments should prioritize environmentally friendly technologies and practices, ensuring long-term economic and environmental benefits. By investing in these sectors, we aim to create jobs, spur economic growth, and enhance overall competitiveness of our shared markets. Turning to Egypt's reform agenda, the signature yesterday of €1 billion of macro-financial assistance is a sign of the EU's strong commitment to Egypt in its implementation of its reform agenda to build macroeconomic stability, enhance economic competitiveness, improve business environment, and support the green transition. The EU gives Egypt full support to the continuation of this reform agenda and will continue to provide technical and financial support. Progress with reforms initiated by the Egyptian government will unlock the public and private investment necessary for modernization of the economy, including the green and digital transition. The EU, through its economic and investment plan and the strategic and comprehensive partnership, aims to mobilize up to €5 billion in investments between now and 2027 to support essential investments in areas such as agriculture, water, connectivity, human capital, as well as providing finance to small and medium-sized enterprises. This will be developed through the European Fund for Sustainable Development, Sustainable Development Plus, together with European financial institutions, the member states and the private sector, and there's going to be also, I know, further discussions on this topic in panels in this conference. To conclude, the EU's support for increasing investment in Egypt is not just an economic strategy, but a broader commitment to shared prosperous future. Together, we can leverage Egypt's unique advantages to build a stronger, more resilient economy, benefiting businesses and consumers alike. So let us seize this opportunity to deepen our cooperation, drive innovation, and ensure sustainable growth for both Europe and Egypt. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your opening remarks. And you've heard that, ladies and gentlemen, Egypt has the full support of the EU to achieve its economic goals. We'd like to move now to the fireside chat moderated by Francesco Palmieri, Managing Director and Senior Partner at the Boston Consulting Group. We look forward to a fruitful discussion.
Good morning, and thank you for the audience, and thank you for your time and the opening remarks. I will start with Mr. Prime Minister. We live in a world of growing competition between countries. There are countries which are trying to localize more their own needs. There are other countries which are trying to attract foreign investment. How Egypt, in this context, differentiate, and what is the competitive advantage that you can offer to your partners?
Thank you for this question, and let me start by acknowledging, of course, the importance of this unprecedented event for investment between EU and Egypt. I think we have witnessed yesterday a historical moment through, of course, signing the MOU of the first tranche of the macro-financial assistance, and the other, of course, investment deals and contracts that has been signed, and as my colleague here has mentioned in details, a lot of opportunities. So I would like to emphasize that the EU now is the first strategic partner in terms of trade and investment for Egypt, and it will continue like this. So our expectation and our hope that this relationship and this ties will be extended and enlarged in the coming near future to serve both sides and to be in their interest in the coming period. So returning back to your question, definitely Egypt enjoys a lot of competitiveness within this very fast changing world. Let me start by saying that and acknowledging that we have a sizable, well-educated, relatively cheap labor forces and young graduated people that represent an excellent opportunities for different fields of specialities that has interests from the EU. So those labor force, of course, represent, I think, one of the most soft power of Egypt in the coming period, because they are, and they can be very well equipped and trained for the future and existing demands from both sides, Egypt and the EU. The second thing, of course, the strategic location of Egypt I think, in the heart of the whole world, and of course enjoying that at least between 15 and 18% from the global trade is passing by Egypt through the Suez Canal. And of course this strategic location represents an added value for Egypt in the past and the present and in the future. I think the third thing, which now it's very clear, Egypt has invested heavily within the last 10 years in building its competitive infrastructure, that it will make it conducive for investment and any kind of projects that related to industrial development, food securities and other economic activities. So I think now Egypt is ready through its new modern ports, airports, regional and international highways, the railway system that we are implementing now, together of course with heavy infrastructure in the field of energy, gas and of course water supply and sanitation and all related aspects regarding the infrastructure. All of this, I think, represent an added value for any investors who will evaluate what kind of environment that he would like to be in. So all of this, I think, pave the road for future investment from the EU, which we are hoping that it will be extended in the coming period. The last but not least, I think, also related to logistics. We have been heavily engaged in creating what we can call it logistic hubs for economies, whether the Suez Canal zone, new areas that we have been engaged in development, that like the new administrative capital, Alamein, in addition to other new areas that it will be attractive for investment. So all of this, I think, coupled with all the massive economic reforms that the government, together with the central bank, has been engaged in implementing successfully within the last period, I think it will make the whole environment here in Egypt is conducive and attractive for investment if we compare it with other countries within the region and even within the whole world.
Thank you. Commissioner, can you elaborate why Egypt is so important for Europe? And what is the role of Egypt as a gateway between Europe, Africa and the broader region?
Thank you for this question. Indeed, we have now launched our strategic and comprehensive partnership, where we recognize also Egypt's broader role in the region, economical role at the crossroads of Africa, Middle East and Europe, but also political role. So, and one of our pillars of cooperation under this strategic and comprehensive partnership is also political cooperation, because we see Egypt as a stabilizing force in the entire region. We know conflict in Gaza, situation in Sudan, difficulties in the Red Sea. So we see that it's a very complicated geopolitical situation in the region, and EU is willing to work closely together to deal with these conflicts and to stabilize the situation in the entire region. So it's important, this political cooperation angle, but also economically. I was already outlining also in my introductory remarks a number of advantages we see in economic cooperation with Egypt.
Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, the audience has been hearing many opportunities across different sectors yesterday. If I am a foreign investor and I have $100 million, where should I invest? Can you give us some tips?
I think it's an interesting question, but let me start by saying that we can, if I am an investor with a portfolio of 100 million euros, I can have here a wide varieties of opportunities that has been identified by the government based on the demand, the local demand here in the country, and also opportunities for export in a lot of markets, specifically our continent, Africa and the Middle East. So I can split or divide the opportunities to traditional sectors, which really have already now great opportunities, like the food security sector. I think it's very important. Traditional industries and manufacturing related to the local demands here in Egypt. So food security is very important. We have here a wide varieties of opportunities that can really represent very good opportunities for investment that, of course, suitable for this size of investment. Together, of course, with industries in the field of textile and other related fields. Always the petrochemicals also field will represent a very good opportunities. But if we move ahead with what we can call it the new innovative and futuristic sectors, which I think represent a common interest between the EU and Egypt, specifically in fields of green energy or renewable energies, I think, and also more advanced technologies, we will find, I think, the field of fintech is very important. Telecommunication and ICT in general also represent a very good opportunities. Areas like data centers and other related fields to technology is very important. But coming to the issue of renewable energies, because I think what we have witnessed yesterday, a lot of MOUs and framework agreements that has been signed in this related field, with, of course, the main objective of the EU to rely more and more on green energy, renewables, green hydrogen. So I think this industry represents the future for both sides. So localizing the components for renewable energies, of course here I'm speaking about solar panels, the wind turbines, and electrolyzers for the green hydrogen and ammonia. All of this, I think, areas represent very good opportunities for investors to come and step in here in Egypt, specifically that recently we have amended and introduced new legislation that provide incredible amount of incentives specified for such kind of fields. So this is, I think, a wide varieties for any investor that he will come in this country and start to seek opportunities for investment. So we are ready definitely to receive him and discuss with him the opportunities, whether in this field or even if there is other related field that he will be interested in, we will be ready to open the gate for him in this country.
Thank you. Commissioner, and from European perspective, among all the potential area of cooperations, which are really the key areas on the economic perspective that you as a European Union want to succeed, and what are the specific measures you are putting in place to support the objective?
Yeah, well, on this question of key areas, if we want to strengthen the resilience of the economy, it's important to have a diversified economy. So from that point of view, we would not put so much focus on, only one or two key areas, but really strive to have a broad cooperation across different sectors, because that's key for the resilience of the economy. Then, if I'm still how to mention some of the key sectors, I already had mentioning, for example, cooperation in green transformation, including renewable energy, where indeed EU and Egyptian economies are very complementary. So there will be high demand for green energy in the EU, and Egypt has huge renewables potential. So clearly there is scope for cooperation. It's already happening. Already there is, for example, electricity interconnection being built between Egypt and Greece. We are discussing projects of green hydrogen and so on and so forth. So that's one very obvious area of cooperation. But then we also need to see how we can deepen our trade and investment ties. So we have been discussing this topic yesterday also with the Prime Minister, with the government representatives, looking at the scope to modernize our trade relationship, whether there is a scope in areas such as trade in services, digital trade, which are all sectors which are rapidly growing and hold lots of potential.
Yesterday we have heard very passionate speeches by both presidencies that set the stage for a very fruitful strategic partnership between Egypt and Europe. How would you define success, and what is your vision for the future? Say, if we project the partnership in 5 years from now, what would you like to celebrate, Mr. Prime Minister?
Okay, I think adding on what you have mentioned yesterday, I think it was very clear for everybody how strong is the political will from both presidency about strengthening our ties and strategic relationship between both sides or both parties. So I feel that with what the very positive vibes that we have witnessed yesterday and we will witness today, that I can see the future, the very near future, if you can speak about 3 to 5 years from now, that of course we have been able to translate almost all of the MOUs and framework agreements that we have signed into operation. So we can see that Egypt become one of the main source of green energy to Europe, whether through, of course, renewables, green hydrogen, green ammonia. The second thing that we realize a very important project of connectivity between Egypt and Europe through Greece. This is very vital, and there is other proposed projects also for connectivity. This is really very important. The third, that the volume of trade at least to be doubled, and of course with trying to achieve more balancing position between the both sides, because if we look now, of course the side of the EU is much larger than the Egyptian side. So I would love to see, of course, the volume is really being enlarged, the balance is being relatively achieved, and of course the volume and number of European countries who are existing and investing here in Egypt is being increased. Today we have more than 3,300 companies, European companies, who are already existing here in Egypt. So I would love to see the number is being, of course, increased, and maybe around 5,000 at least companies to be here in Egypt. This is of course a hope, but I think it's attainable and can be achieved. So in general, I think we, with the top level, of course, political will, and the willingness of both sides, the Commission and the government, the Egyptian government, we can do this. We can see, of course, a sustainable mechanism of relation, or what we can call it B2B or B2G mechanisms that enable any investors from both sides that can have get an easy access for investment opportunities, specifically here in Egypt, because as we mentioned, we count on the EU as our main strategic partner that will help Egypt to move ahead to achieve a stable and booming economy for the sake of the whole region. Because now with what we are seeing in in the region with a lot of turbulence and, of course, unstable states. Stability for Egypt is crucial for not the region, but specifically for Europe, I believe. One of the last issues that I would like to raise that I hope within this coming period that we can build an effective mechanism through which skilled laborers from Egypt can have a very clear opportunities in Europe instead of what we can call it illegal migration. So this is very important, and we have discussed these issues with our colleagues in the EU and the Commissions, and we believe that we could have a great story for success in that respect.
Commissioner, and from European perspective, what do you expect from the strategic partnership? How would you define the success? What will be your target in 5 years from now?
We have a saying in the European Union that implementation is key. So what we saw here in this conference is a good start. There's a very good momentum now since the launch of this strategic and comprehensive partnership, and let me remind, it's only 100 days old. We saw signing lots of agreements, a memorandum of understanding and so on here on the sides of this conference. So, but what is now very important is first to see through that all those good things which are being discussed and agreed are actually materializing. So that may be then more, mundane day-to-day work, but that is what will make this cooperation a success or not. So we need to focus on implementing things we are agreeing right now. And we are, since the partnership is still in early days, we are also still developing many of the policy directions across all 6 pillars of our cooperation. So it's important not only to agree on these things, but also make sure that then those things are implemented.
Thank you. I think both of you highlight two areas that are very important. From one side, let's say the clear targets, as you said, let's say what are the specific also number that you want to see moving ahead, and as the Commissioner said, a lot of focus on the implementation and execution to make things happen. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for the audience to attending this session.
Thank you, Your Excellencies, for the insightful discussion on the future of the European Union and Egypt relations and opportunities for strengthening cooperation. Thank you always for your time and leadership on those matters. And we look forward to seeing the outcomes of those discussions translated into tangible progress. And this takes us to the signings of the deals and the memorandums of understanding. We will be witnessing now a few MOUs and deal signings for the international cooperation. Let me start with the first agreement, financing agreement between the AFD, between the AFD and the government of the Arab Republic of Egypt for the EU Sawama, EU support to improve the grain storage in Egypt. I'd like to welcome on stage His Excellency Dr. Ali Al-Musilhi, Minister of Supply and Internal Trade, Her Excellency Dr. Rania El-Mashat, Minister of International Cooperation, Mr. Gert Jan Koopman, DG Neighborhood and Enlargement Negotiations, and Mrs. Cecile Coupry, Regional Director, AFD, and His Excellency Ambassador Eric Chevalier, Ambassador of France to Egypt. We'll be setting the stage now for those signings. Please wait for those. There's magic happening downstairs. Okay. So, as we've mentioned, this will be the first part of memorandums of understanding, and they will cover international cooperation, Your Excellencies will be ready in a few moments. You can see the